Hey guys, and welcome back. Tonight, we journey to the golden land of the Pharaohs. We picture a life of unimaginable wealth, of absolute power, of godlike status over a devoted people. We imagine a life of languid, decadent ease, but the reality was a gilded cage of endless ritual, crippling paranoia, and a crushing cosmic responsibility that would break a lesser man. Tonight, you are not a spectator to history. You are the new Pharaoh. You are a living god. And you are about to have the most unbearably stressful day of your life. So before the morning rituals begin, take a moment to like the video and subscribe if you enjoy these quiet journeys into the past. As always, let me know in the comments where you are all listening from. All right, dim the lights, let the world outside fade away, and let us step back in time. You are not awakened by the sun. In your kingdom, the sun does not dare to rise until you have given it leave to do so. You are not awakened by the gentle stirring of your own body. Your body is not your own to command. You are awakened by a sound that is older than the pyramids themselves. It is the sound of a priest's soft, sandaled footstep on the alabaster floor of your bedchamber. You are floating in the deep, chaotic, and blessedly private world of your own dreams. Here, in the darkness of your own mind, you are not a god. You are a man. You are a boy, hunting in the marshlands with your father. You are a young husband, laughing with your wife. You are free. But the sound intrudes. A soft, rustling whisper, like dry leaves skittering across stone. It is the sound of a clean, white linen robe. It is the sound of duty. It pulls you, with a gentle but inexorable force, up from the warm, deep, and comforting ocean of your own humanity, and towards the cold, hard surface of your divinity. Your eyes flicker open. The world that greets you is one of soft, golden, and sacred gloom. Your bedchamber is the most private and most holy space in the entire palace. The walls are covered in magnificent paintings of the gods, their serene, eternal faces watching you. The air is thick and heavy with the lingering, sacred scent of the kaifi incense that was burned last night to guard your soul from the demons of the dream world. But the first thing you are truly aware of is them, the priests. There are 3 of them, standing silently at the foot of your great gilded bed. They are the high priests of the morning ritual, the masters of your waking. Their heads are shaved and gleaming in the soft light of the oil lamps. Their bodies have been purified in the sacred lake. Their white linen robes are so immaculately clean they seem to radiate a cool light of their own. They are not your servants. They are your handlers. They are the keepers of the divine vessel that you inhabit. They do not look at you, the man who is now awake. They look through you at the divine spirit, the royal Ka, that resides within your flesh. The senior priest, a man so old his skin is like a piece of faded papyrus, steps forward. He does not ask if you have slept well. He does not wish you a good morning. He begins to chant, his voice a low, hypnotic, an ancient sound that seems to make the very air in the room vibrate. He is not speaking to you. He is speaking to your soul. "Awaken Horus in the palace," he murmurs, the ancient words of the rite, a familiar and heavy weight. "Awaken, son of Ra. The boat of 1,000,000 years awaits you. The serpent of the dark, the great Apep, has been vanquished. It is time for you to command your father, Ra, to begin his journey across the sky." The words are a prayer, but they are also a command. They are your job description. The weight of the entire cosmos, the responsibility for the rising of the sun, and the continuation of all life settles upon your shoulders the very instant you return to consciousness. There is no gentle start to your day. There is only the immediate, absolute, and crushing pressure of your divine duty. The man who was dreaming of his wife a moment ago is gone. He has been banished. You are Pharaoh now. You push back the fine, impossibly soft linen sheets. You sit up. Your movements are not the clumsy, groggy movements of a mortal man. They are already becoming slow, deliberate, and majestic. The performance has begun. Another priest steps forward. He carries a golden basin and a golden ewer. He pours cool, clean water, drawn from a well that is reserved only for you, and you rinse your hands and your mouth. A simple act of purification that is laden with 1,000 years of ritual significance. You sit on the edge of your magnificent bed, a lone, mortal man in a simple linen nightrobe, surrounded by the silent, watchful priests who are here to manage your transformation. You are awake, and your entire being is filled with a single, overwhelming, and terrifying thought. The sun must rise, and you alone, are the one who must make it happen. The most stressful day of your life has begun. The priests stand back, their duty of waking the divine spirit complete. You are now Pharaoh, and the first act of your day must be one of absolute ritual purification. Before you can command the sun, before you can rule your kingdom, you must first be made clean, not in a simple mortal sense, but in a profound cosmic one. You rise from the great bed, your movements already slow and formal, the memory of your human dreams locked away. The senior priest gestures, and you begin a small, solemn procession from your bedchamber. You walk through the silent, dark corridors of your private apartments, a world that no one but you, your wife, and your most trusted attendants are ever permitted to see. Your bare feet are silent on the cool, polished stone floors. The only light comes from the single oil lamp held aloft by an acolyte who walks before you, his face a mask of pious concentration. Your destination is a small, sacred building within the very heart of the royal palace. It is the Per Duat, the house of the morning, the place of your daily rebirth. You step across its threshold, and the air changes. It is cooler here, and it smells of clean, wet stone, of sacred incense, and of the sharp, almost metallic scent of natron, the salt of purification. The chamber is a small, perfect temple. The walls are covered in magnificent, painted reliefs depicting the sun god Ra being born from a lotus flower on the primordial waters of Nun. In the center of the room is a sunken pool, its sides and steps carved from a single, massive block of translucent white alabaster. The pool is filled to the brim with dark, still water, its surface a perfect black mirror that reflects the flickering lamplight. This is not a bath for comfort. It is a sacred instrument of rebirth. The water within it is not simply water. It has been consecrated by the priests. It is a symbolic representation of Nun, the great, dark, and infinite ocean from which all of creation first emerged. To enter this pool is to return to the beginning of time. You stand at the edge of the pool as the priests continue their low, hypnotic chanting. Two of them approach you and, with movements that are both reverent and deeply impersonal, they remove your linen nightrobe. You now stand naked before them, a mortal man in a sacred space. But they do not see you as a man. They see you as a divine statue, a holy vessel that must be scoured clean of the last lingering traces of the night's chaos before it can be filled with the divine power of your office. You descend the alabaster steps into the pool. The water is cool, a gentle and deliberate shock to your warm skin. It is the temperature of the sacred Nile itself, a reminder of the source of all life in your kingdom. You stand, waist deep in the center of the pool, your body a pale shape in the dark, silent water, and the ritual of washing begins. This is not a task you perform yourself. It is a service that is performed upon you. The senior priest takes a small, rough ball of woven linen. Into it he pours a measure of natron, the same crystalline salt used to purify the mouths of the living and the bodies of the dead. He dips the ball into the water and approaches you. He begins to scrub your body, his movements firm, methodical, and entirely without intimacy. He is not a servant, washing his master. He is a priest, purifying an idol. He scrubs your shoulders, your chest, your back, his voice never faltering from the low, rhythmic chant. The natron is a harsh and abrasive soap. You can feel its gritty texture as it scours away the last of the oils and the sweat from your skin. It is not a pleasant sensation. It is a raw, scraping, and deeply purifying one. You, as Pharaoh, must endure this with a god's stillness. You have been trained for this since you were a boy. You learn to disassociate your mind from your body, to let these rituals wash over you, to become the passive, unfeeling object that the ceremony requires you to be. Your mind is already on the great and terrible duties of the day ahead. The petition from the priests of Memphis, the troubling reports from the Syrian frontier. Your body is simply here, a statue being polished. When the scrubbing is complete, the final act of purification must be performed. The priest's chant rises in volume, reaching a crescendo. "You are reborn from the waters of Nun," he cries. "You are cleansed. You are pure." At his words, you take a deep breath and you submerge yourself completely, plunging your head and body beneath the dark, silent water. It is a symbolic death, a washing away of the last vestiges of the man you were in your dreams. You emerge, gasping, water streaming from your hair and your body. You are reborn. You are Pharaoh. You ascend the steps from the pool. Attendants are there, waiting with sheets of the finest, softest, and driest linen to wrap you in. Your body is now clean, your skin tingling and raw from the harsh natron, but you are ritually and absolutely pure. The divine vessel has been scoured, emptied of the night, and is now ready to be filled. The long, laborious, and deeply symbolic process of clothing and crowning the god can now begin. You emerge from the sacred pool, your body ritually pure, your spirit cleansed of the chaotic residue of the night. You are a blank, clean vessel, a perfect and empty foundation upon which the great and terrible edifice of your divinity must now be constructed. Attendants wrap you in sheets of soft, warm, and perfectly dry linen, and you are led from the quiet, dark, and watery world of the House of the Morning into a different kind of sacred space, the robing chamber. This is the royal antechamber, a place of transformation where the mortal man is systematically erased and the living God is assembled, piece by magnificent, heavy piece. The room is a whirl of quiet, focused activity. A dozen specialized servants, the masters of the robes, move with the hushed reverence of priests, their entire existence dedicated to the single, complex art of clothing the pharaoh. The air here smells of clean, sun-bleached linen, of the faint, metallic tang of polished gold, and of the sacred myrrh that is used to perfume the royal garments. The clothes themselves are laid out on a great table of carved cedar wood, not as simple garments, but as a collection of sacred relics, each with its own name, its own history, and its own profound symbolic weight. You stand in the center of the room, a passive, patient statue, and the long and laborious process of your construction begins. First, the linen. It is the foundation of all things. You are dressed in a simple loincloth, the shendit, but it is made of the finest royal linen, or byssus, a fabric so impossibly fine and light it is almost transparent. Its every pleat a testament to the weaver's miraculous skill. Over this, a long, almost translucent, and similarly pleated linen robe is draped, a garment that is less a piece of clothing and more a shimmering white haze that surrounds your body. In the heat of your kingdom, this lightness is a mercy, but you know it is a fleeting one. Next come the sandals. They are not the practical leather or reed sandals of a mortal man. They are of pure beaten gold, intricately worked with images of the enemies of Egypt, Nubians and Libyans, so that with every step you take, you are symbolically trampling upon those who would defy you. They are heavy, and you must adjust your stance to their unfamiliar weight. Now, the true burden begins, the true weight of your divinity. Two masters of the robes approach, and between them they carry the usek, the broad collar. It is not a necklace. It is a piece of ceremonial armor, a great semicircular collar of solid gold that is so large and so heavy it covers your entire shoulders and upper chest. It is a treasure of almost unimaginable value, composed of a dozen concentric rows of thousands of beads, the deep celestial blue of lapis lazuli, the rich blood red of carnelian, the cool, life-giving green of turquoise, all set between rows of solid gold hieroglyphs that tell the story of your divine birth. They place this great, cold, and incredibly heavy object over your head. The weight settles onto your shoulders with a crushing, physical finality. It is the first and most profound reminder of your job. The weight of the two lands, of Upper and Lower Egypt, is not a metaphor. It is a physical reality, a golden yoke that you must now carry for the rest of the day. The adornment continues. Heavy solid gold bracelets are clasped onto your wrists and upper arms. And then comes the strangest and most sacred part of your facial transformation, the false beard. It is a long, thin, and tightly braided beard, fashioned from gold and threaded with blue lapis lazuli. It is not a symbol of your masculinity. It is a symbol of your divinity. The gods, in their eternal perfection, all wear this strange, stylized beard. To be a true pharaoh, to be a living god, you must wear it too. It is attached with a silk cord that is tied tightly at the back of your head, the hard golden chin piece digging uncomfortably into your own jaw. It is awkward. It is unnatural. It is necessary. Finally, the moment of ultimate transformation arrives. The high priest himself enters the chamber, his hands holding the final and most powerful object of all, the crown. Today, for the great festival, you will not wear a simple diadem. You will wear the pshent, the double crown of Egypt. It is a heavy, almost cumbersome, and deeply powerful object. It combines the tall, white, conical crown of Upper Egypt, the hedjet, with the flat, red, and strangely shaped crown of Lower Egypt, the deshret. In its center rears the golden cobra, the uraeus, its hood flared, ready to spit fire at your enemies. The high priest raises the great heavy crown and, with a final whispered prayer, he lowers it onto your head. The moment it settles, the transformation is complete. The weight of it is immense, a final crushing burden that forces your head and your posture into a state of rigid, unbending, and perfect majesty. You are no longer a man. The soft, uncertain, and mortal being who woke in the bed this morning is gone, buried beneath a mountain of linen, of gold, of jewels, of sacred and historical weight. You look into the great, polished bronze mirror that is held before you. The face that looks back is not your own. It is the face of 1,000 years of tradition. It is the serene, impersonal, and terrifying face of the Pharaoh of Egypt. It is the face of a god. You are a magnificent, glittering, and almost inhuman figure. You are a living statue, a walking treasure. And every part of you, from your aching shoulders to your constricted jaw to your burdened head, is a testament to the profound, glorious, and absolutely unbearable weight of being divine. You are no longer a man. You are a living idol, a magnificent and terrifying statue of gold and stone, animated by a human soul. The weight of your own divinity is a crushing, physical burden. The heavy double crown of the two lands presses down on your skull. The immense golden broad collar is a yoke of pure, unforgiving metal upon your shoulders. The false beard of a god digs into your chin. You are a prisoner in a cage of your own magnificent regalia. The laborious construction of your public self is complete. And now, your first and most important job of the day must be performed. It is not a task of statecraft or of law. It is a task of cosmic, universal importance. You must make the sun rise. You are led from the robing chamber in a small, solemn, and silent procession. Only the highest-ranking lector priests are permitted to accompany you. The great palace is still in a state of pre-dawn gloom, the corridors lit only by the flickering flames of the torches carried by your attendants. Your own movements are slow, difficult, and majestic, dictated by the immense weight of your costume. The soft clink of your golden sandals on the stone floor is the only sound, a slow, funereal rhythm. Your destination is a sacred and secret place within the palace, a place no common courtier is ever allowed to see. It is the waybet, the place of purity, a high, open-air terrace built on the easternmost edge of the palace, designed for this single sacred purpose. You step out onto the terrace, and the cool, pre-dawn air is a shock against your skin. The sky before you is a vast, deep, and bruised purple, the last of the stars still glittering like chips of diamond in the immense darkness. Below you, the world is a great, sleeping, and silent landscape. You can see the dark, serpentine ribbon of the Nile, the vast, sleeping city of Thebes, and the dark, imposing shapes of the great temples, all held in a state of profound, breathless silence. The entire world is waiting for you. You are a pharaoh of Egypt. You are the son of Ra, and you understand the terrible, secret mechanics of the universe as no other mortal does. You know that the sun is not a simple ball of fire that rises and sets out of habit. The sun is your father, Ra, and every night he must undertake a perilous journey. He must sail his great solar barge, the Manjet, through the 12 dark, terrifying hours of the underworld, the Duat. And in this journey, he is not alone, for in the darkest hour of the night, he must face his eternal and ultimate enemy, the great chaos serpent Apep. Apep is a creature of pure elemental chaos, a monster whose only desire is to swallow the solar barge and to plunge the world back into the eternal, lifeless darkness from which it first emerged. Ra is a great god, but he cannot win this battle alone. He requires the aid of his allies, and his most powerful ally. The only one who can wield the sacred magic of the living world on his behalf is you, his son on earth. This is your first and most important duty. Your daily ritual is not a simple prayer for the dawn. It is an act of magical warfare. You are the artillery, the secret weapon that gives your father the strength he needs to vanquish the great serpent for one more day. You take your place at the very edge of the terrace, your golden sandals on the cold stone, your face turned towards the eastern horizon. The high priest stands beside you, his own face a mask of intense concentration. He begins to chant in a low, ancient murmur, but his words are just the prelude. The true power must come from you. You raise your arms, a slow and difficult movement under the immense weight of your golden collar. In your hands, you hold the was scepter, a long staff of gold, its head carved in the shape of a mythical animal. You begin to chant. Your voice is not the quiet human voice of the man who woke this morning. It is a deep, resonant, and powerful sound that you have been trained since childhood to produce. It is the voice of a god. And the words you speak are not a plea. They are a weapon. You are reciting the ancient and powerful incantations from the holy books, the spells for overthrowing Apep. You chant a spell of binding, your words a magical rope to ensnare the great serpent. You chant a spell of spitting, a magical act of contempt to weaken its power. You chant a spell of fire, your words a divine flame to burn its chaotic flesh. You are not just speaking, you are casting. You are weaving a great net of sacred, magical energy and casting it out across the dark world, into the underworld itself, to aid your father in his desperate, cosmic battle. The psychological pressure of this moment is absolute and almost unbearable. You are not performing a mere symbol. In your mind, and in the minds of your entire civilization, you are engaged in a real and terrifying battle. The fate of the entire world, the continuation of all life, the very existence of light and order, rests upon the perfect, powerful, and unwavering execution of this single lonely ceremony. If you falter, if your voice cracks, if your concentration wavers for a single instant, the great serpent might win, the sun might not rise, and the world will end. You finish the final great hymn. Your voice echoes and then fades into the profound, waiting silence. Your arms are still raised. You stand, a silent golden statue, and you watch the eastern horizon. The world holds its breath, and then it happens. A single, brilliant, and impossibly beautiful point of pure golden red light appears over the distant, black line of the desert cliffs. It is the sun. A collective shuddering sigh of pure, profound relief passes through the priests standing behind you. You have done it. You have succeeded. Ra has vanquished Apep for one more day. The world is safe. You feel a wave of your own weary, almost dizzying relief. Your first and most cosmically important job of the day is complete. You have, by the sheer force of your own divine will, made the sun rise. You slowly, painfully, lower your aching arms as the great golden disk of your father climbs into the sky, its warm, life-giving light beginning to flood the Nile Valley. Your cosmic duty is fulfilled. You have defeated the great serpent of chaos. Now, you must turn your back on the dawn and return to the palace, to face the lesser, but no less dangerous, serpents of your own human court. The sun is in the sky. You have successfully performed your first and most cosmically important duty. The universe is safe for another day. You are led back from the sun-drenched terrace, through the cool, dark corridors, and into the private dining chamber of the palace. The intense, high-stakes, and deeply magical work of the dawn is over. Now the more mundane, but no less dangerous, business of the morning must begin. It is time for breakfast. For a normal man, a meal is a simple, pleasant act of sustenance. For you, the Pharaoh, it is a ritual of profound and terrifying paranoia. You do not simply eat. You preside over a ceremony that is designed to keep you alive in a world where every dish, every cup, could be a vessel of your own death. You take your seat at a small, elegant table of polished alabaster. You are alone. Even your wife, the great royal wife, does not dine with you at this first meal. This is a moment of singular royal vulnerability. The chamber is quiet. The only sound, the soft, shuffling footsteps of the servants. The food is brought to you. It is a magnificent display, a testament to the wealth and bounty of your kingdom. There are platters of fresh, sweet figs and dates. There are bowls of thick, creamy yogurt made from the milk of a water buffalo. There are warm, flat loaves of bread, still fragrant from the palace ovens. And there is a golden goblet of the finest, dark red wine from the vineyards of the Delta. It is a feast fit for a god, and you cannot touch any of it. You sit, your hands resting on your lap, a silent and patient observer of your own meal. And then he enters. He is the royal taster. He is a man of immense importance and of almost unimaginable courage. He is a high-ranking official, a man from a noble family who has been granted this position of great trust and of ultimate daily risk. He is your shield. He is your first line of defense against the most intimate of all your enemies, poison. He approaches the table and performs a deep, reverent bow. He does not look at you with the fear of a common servant, but with the quiet, professional gravity of a soldier about to perform a dangerous duty. The ritual begins. A serving slave, under the watchful eye of the taster, presents the first dish, a beautiful, glistening bunch of purple figs. The taster takes one. He does not eat it. He first inspects it with the eye of a trained expert. He holds it up to the light. He sniffs it, his nostrils flaring slightly, searching for any strange, unnatural or chemical scent. He then breaks it open, examining the flesh within for any discoloration, for any sign of a hidden powder or a telltale drop of a colorless liquid. When he is satisfied, he performs the final, most important test. He places a piece of the fig in his own mouth. He chews it slowly, deliberately, his entire being focused on the taste, on the sensation. He is searching for the bitter, almond-like taste of cyanide, for the strange, metallic tang of arsenic, for any flavor that is out of place. He swallows, and then he waits. The entire chamber is held in a state of profound, suspended silence. For a full minute, no one moves. The taster stands perfectly still, his face a calm, impassive mask. But you know that he is listening to the inner workings of his own body. He is waiting for the first subtle cramp in his stomach, for the first wave of dizziness, for the sudden burning fire of a fast-acting poison. You watch his face, your own expression a mask of regal indifference, but your heart is a slow, heavy drum in your chest. This man is your proxy. His body is your laboratory. His potential death is the price of your continued life. The minute passes. The taster remains standing. He has not collapsed. He has not shown any sign of distress. He gives a single, subtle nod to the serving slave. The figs are safe. Only now is the dish presented to you. You take a fig from the platter, and you eat it. It is sweet, delicious, and you eat it with the full and certain knowledge that it is not poisoned. The ritual is repeated for every single item on your table. The taster eats a spoonful of the yogurt. He breaks off a piece of the bread. And most importantly, he takes your own golden goblet of wine, pours a small amount into a silver cup of his own, and drinks it. This is your daily reality. You are the most powerful man in the world, a living god, and yet you cannot trust a single thing that passes your lips. You are surrounded by luxury, by the finest foods and wines your kingdom can produce. But you must view every meal as a potential assassination attempt. You know the history. You have read the scrolls. You know of the pharaohs who were not killed in battle, but who died in their own dining chambers, clutching their stomachs, their bodies racked with a sudden, violent, and mysterious illness. You know that the greatest danger to your throne comes not from the Hittite armies on your border, but from the quiet, smiling, and ambitious cousin who stands behind you at court. And so you have learned to live with this constant, gnawing paranoia. It is a part of the weight of your crown. You look at your royal taster, this brave man who willingly risks his own life for you every single day, and you feel a strange mixture of profound gratitude and a deep, unsettling sense of the terrible, isolating nature of your own power. He is the only man in your kingdom whose loyalty you can be absolutely certain of, for his life is literally, physically tied to your own. The breakfast is over. The taster has survived another meal, and so have you. He bows and retreats, his duty done for the morning. You are left, your hunger satisfied, but your soul filled with the familiar, bitter taste of suspicion. The sun is now fully in the sky. Your body has been purified. Your divinity has been constructed. Your cosmic duty has been performed, and your life has been protected from poison. Now, and only now, can the mundane, human, and deeply treacherous work of ruling your kingdom begin. The strange, paranoid, and lonely ritual of the royal breakfast is complete. The golden plates have been cleared away, the taster has been dismissed, and you have been successfully nourished and protected from the threat of poison. The cosmic duties are done. The personal preparations are complete. Now you must cease to be a god of ritual and become a god of governance. You must confront your kingdom. You are led from your private dining chamber, through a series of magnificent and heavily guarded corridors, to a smaller, more formal audience hall. This is your office. There is a single, great, gilded throne at one end, set upon a raised dais. The walls are covered not with scenes of the gods, but with magnificent, propagandistic reliefs depicting the great military victories of your father, the previous Pharaoh. They are a constant, silent, and deeply intimidating reminder of the legacy you must uphold. You take your seat on the throne. You are no longer the passive vessel of the morning's rituals. You are now the active, commanding center of the entire Egyptian state. You give a quiet nod to the chamberlain. The great doors are opened, and a single figure enters. He is your Grand Vizier, the most powerful man in Egypt after you. He is an old man, his back slightly stooped from a lifetime of service, but his eyes are as sharp and as intelligent as a hawk's. He served your father for 30 years, and he now serves you. He is your prime minister, your chief of staff, your chief justice, and, in these early days of your reign, your most impudent and most feared teacher. He approaches the throne, performs the deep, formal bow that protocol demands, and he does not rise until you grant him leave. He carries with him a leather satchel, and from it he produces a series of papyrus scrolls, each one tied with a colored ribbon and sealed with clay. This is his morning briefing. It is the litany of crises, disasters, and simmering problems that have accumulated across the length of your vast kingdom while you were engaged in the holy business of making the sun rise. Divine Horus, may you live, prosper, and be in health, he begins, his voice the dry, formal rustle of an official document. He then unrolls the first scroll. It is bound with a dusty, brown ribbon. A dispatch from the governor of the southern province of Nubia, Your Majesty, he says. The news is not good. The inundation of the Nile this season was weak in the southern cataracts. The grain harvest has failed. The royal granaries at Elephantine are nearly empty. The people are starving. He pauses, letting the simple, brutal weight of the words settle in the room. And where there is hunger, he adds, his voice low, there is unrest. The governor reports that rebellious talk is being whispered in the villages. They are questioning the power of a pharaoh who cannot command the river to feed his people. You sit, motionless on your throne, the heavy double crown a dead weight on your head. You feel a cold knot tighten in your stomach. Famine, rebellion. It is the oldest and most dangerous threat to the stability of your rule. Your divinity is not a matter of abstract faith. It is a contract with your people. You guarantee the prosperity of the land, and in return, they give you their absolute obedience. If the land fails, the contract is broken. The vizier does not wait for your response. He carefully rolls up the first scroll and unrolls a second, this one bound with a stark, blood-red ribbon. A report from our spies on the eastern frontier, in the lands of the Amuru, he continues, his voice grim. The Hittite king, our great and treacherous rival, has moved 2 full divisions of his chariot corps to the city of Kadesh. Their intentions are, as yet, unknown, but it is a position of great aggression. Our garrison is strong, but a surprise attack could threaten our entire dominion in Syria. The general asks for guidance. Does he strengthen the defenses and risk provoking a war, or does he hold his position and risk being overrun? The second crisis is laid at your feet. War. The great, ancient enemy, the Hittite Empire, is rattling its sabers on your border. A single wrong command from you, a word spoken in this quiet room in Thebes, could unleash a torrent of blood and fire 1,000 miles away. A war that could cost thousands of lives and drain your already strained treasury. Your face, you hope, is a mask of serene, untroubled authority. But inside, your young and perhaps inexperienced mind is reeling. Famine in the south, the threat of war in the north. The vizier is not finished. He unrolls a third and final scroll, this one tied with a ribbon of pure priestly white. A formal petition, Your Majesty, from the high priest of Amun-Ra, here in Thebes, he says, his tone now one of extreme, delicate caution. He brings a complaint against the priesthood of Ptah in Memphis. The 2 great temples are in a dispute over the ownership of a series of valuable agricultural estates in the Delta. The priests of Amun-Ra claim the lands are theirs by ancient charter. The priests of Ptah claim the deeds are forgeries. This, you know, may be the most dangerous problem of all. The great temple factions are immensely powerful, wealthy, and politically ambitious. They are the kingmakers of your kingdom. To side with one is to make a mortal enemy of the other. An open conflict between the 2 most powerful priesthoods in the land could split your kingdom in 2, creating a civil war far more dangerous than any Hittite invasion. The briefing is complete. The 3 great crises of your kingdom, famine, war, and sedition, have been neatly unrolled and placed at your feet. The vizier now stands in silence, his head bowed, waiting. He is waiting for your divine wisdom. He is waiting for your commands. You sit on your golden throne, the weight of the crown a physical ache in your neck, and you are overwhelmed. You are a living god, but you feel like a small, frightened boy. The cosmic duty of making the sun rise now seems like a simple and easy task compared to this. That was a battle of ritual, of magic. This is a battle of impossible choices, where every decision is a gamble, and the price of a single mistake is the potential collapse of your entire world. The true, unbearable stress of your job has only just begun. The Grand Vizier stands before you, a silent, patient, and deeply intimidating figure. He has laid the 3 great crises of your kingdom at your feet: famine, war, and the seditious squabbling of the priests. He has done his duty. Now you must do yours. You are the Pharaoh. You are the source of all law, the final arbiter of all disputes. You must now dispense the divine and unshakable justice of the gods. You do not allow the storm of anxiety and indecision in your own mind to show on your face. Your expression, you hope, is one of serene, untroubled, and absolute authority. You address the crises in order, your voice a calm and steady instrument that you've been trained since childhood to wield. The famine in the south is a cry from our own people, you begin. Your words slow and deliberate. It must be answered. Vizier, you will take 100,000 measures of grain from the central granaries here in Thebes. You will command the royal fleet to transport it south to Elephantine immediately. Distribute it freely to the people. But you will also send my most loyal military governor with the fleet. He will ensure the distribution is fair, and he will remind the local nobles, with the sharp point of his spear, if necessary, that their loyalty is to me, not to their own empty bellies. You have made your decision. It is a risk. To deplete the central reserves is to weaken your own position here in the capital. But to allow the people to starve is to invite a rebellion that could shatter the kingdom. You have chosen to show the compassion of a god and the swift, decisive authority of a king. As for the Hittites, you continue, your mind shifting from the internal to the external threat. Send a dispatch to the general on the frontier. He is to hold his position. He will not advance. He will not retreat. But you will also quietly mobilize the 2nd Legion from their barracks in Memphis. Move them east, into the desert, but keep them hidden. If the Hittite king is merely rattling his sabers, we will not be provoked. But if he is planning a true strike, he will find that the jaws of our trap are already waiting for him. Another decision, another gamble. You are walking a tightrope between appeasement and provocation. But you have shown that you are not a rash, young Pharaoh, eager for war. Nor are you a weak one who can be intimidated. Finally, you address the most delicate and dangerous problem of all, the priests. Send a message to the high priest of Amun-Ra and to the high priest of Ptah, you command. Inform them that I, the living Horus, will hear their dispute myself. They will both present their sacred deeds and their arguments before my throne in 3 days' time, and they will be reminded that there is only one divine authority in this land, and it is not them. You have postponed the crisis, but you have also centralized it. You have taken the squabbling of your most powerful subjects and turned it into a test of your own authority. The vizier listens to your commands, his own face an unreadable mask. When you are finished, he performs another deep, formal bow. Your wisdom is as vast as the Nile, divine one, he says, his voice flat and formal. He gathers his scrolls and retreats, a silent, efficient machine, leaving you alone once more in the great echoing silence of the throne room. You are left with the ghost of your own decisions. Have you been wise? Or have you just set in motion 3 separate disasters that will return to destroy you? There is no one to ask. There is no one to consult. The burden of absolute power is the burden of absolute terrifying solitude. But your day of judgment is not over. The great strategic decisions have been made. Now you must descend to the smaller, more personal, but no less important stage of your divine duty. The doors of the hall are opened again, and a new procession enters. It is a line of your own subjects, common people who have come to the palace seeking the justice of the Pharaoh. You sit on your throne, and for the next hour, you are no longer a general or a statesman. You are a judge. The cases are a litany of the small, tragic, and deeply human conflicts of your people. A farmer accuses his neighbor of moving the boundary stone between their fields in the night, stealing a precious strip of fertile land. 2 brothers are in a bitter dispute over the inheritance of their father's small fishing boat. A woman, her face bruised, accuses her husband of cruelty. You must listen to each story. You must weigh the evidence, which is often nothing more than the passionate, contradictory, and tearful testimonies of the people before you, and you must render a verdict. Your word is not just law. It is a divine pronouncement. You listen to the 2 farmers. You see the ingrained dirt under their fingernails. You hear the desperation in their voices. And you are reminded that the great famine you dealt with an hour ago is not an abstract concept. It is a real and present terror in the lives of these men. You make your judgment, ordering the local scribe to consult the old land deeds, and you warn both men that to lie before the Pharaoh is to invite the wrath of the gods. You listen to the 2 brothers, and you see the ugly, corrosive power of greed. You listen to the weeping woman, and you are reminded of the brutal realities that lie hidden behind the closed doors of your subjects' homes. For this 1 hour, you are connected to the real, messy, and painful lives of your people. It is the most human part of your day. But you are not allowed to be human. You cannot show pity. You cannot show anger. You must be the serene, detached, and absolutely impartial vessel of Maat. You must be a living statue of justice. The final case is brought before you, and then it is over. The last of the petitioners is led away. You have dispensed your divine justice. You have solved the small human problems of your kingdom, but you are left with a profound sense of weariness. The great, abstract problems of famine and war are a heavy burden, but the small, intimate, and insoluble problems of human greed and cruelty are, in their own way, an even heavier one. You have brought order to their lives, but the experience has only deepened the sense of your own profound and lonely isolation. The final petitioner has been led away from the audience hall, his legal dispute settled by your divine and unassailable word. You have dispensed your justice. A brief, almost imperceptible moment of quiet descends upon the throne room. But there is no rest. Your Grand Vizier, who has been standing silently in the shadows, now steps forward. His expression is, as always, a mask of deferential respect. But you know what his presence means. Your work as the King of Men is finished for the morning. Your work as the High Priest of the gods is about to begin. This is the central, inescapable reality of your existence. You are not a king who happens to be divine. You are a god who has consented to be a king. Your primary and most time-consuming function is not to rule, but to serve. You are the sole and indispensable bridge between the mortal world of Egypt and the eternal, powerful, and deeply capricious world of the gods. The thousands of priests who serve in the temples across your land are merely your delegates, your assistants. Only you, the living Horus, the son of Ra, can perform the most sacred rituals. Only your hands can present the offerings that truly please the gods. Your entire day, every day, is a tightly packed and utterly relentless schedule of these sacred obligations. You rise from the throne, the weight of your crown and collar a familiar, crushing burden. You are led from the hall and into your ceremonial palanquin, a magnificent and gilded box carried on the shoulders of 12 strong bearers. The procession forms around you once more, the guards, the fan-bearers, and now a retinue of the high priests of the great Theban temples. You are leaving the semi-secular world of the palace and embarking on your daily commute to the workplace of the gods, the great temple complex of Karnak. A journey through the city is a familiar one. You sit in the shaded dimness of your palanquin, the world outside a series of fragmented snapshots seen through the latticework. You see the heat shimmering off the mud brick walls of the houses. You see the dust kicked up by your procession, and you see the faces of your people as you pass. They stop everything. They fall to their knees, their faces pressed to the hot, dusty ground. Their adoration, their absolute and unwavering faith in your divinity, is a heavier weight than the golden collar on your shoulders. They believe you are on your way to speak with the gods on their behalf, and they are right. You arrive at the great pylon gate of the Temple of Amun-Ra, the most magnificent and powerful temple in the world. You are met by the high priest of Amun, a man of immense political power, but in your presence, he is just another servant. He leads you from the bright, noisy public courtyard into the cool, dark, and increasingly sacred heart of the temple. You pass through the great hypostyle hall, a man-made forest of colossal stone pillars that seem to hold up the sky itself. You move through a series of smaller and darker chambers, each one more restricted than the last, until you finally arrive at the holiest place in the entire kingdom, the sanctuary, the Holy of Holies, a small, dark granite chamber where the statue of the god himself resides. No other living soul, besides the highest of priests and you, is ever permitted to enter this space. And here, in the absolute, silent, and incense-heavy darkness, your true work begins. The statue of Amun-Ra, a small figure of pure, solid gold, resides within a series of nested, gilded shrines. It is your duty to awaken, wash, clothe, and feed the god. With the help of the high priest, you perform the ancient, unvarying ritual. You unbolt the doors of the shrines. You carefully lift the small, heavy, golden statue from its resting place. Another priest brings a small basin of consecrated water, and with a clean linen cloth, you gently wash the cold, lifeless limbs of the idol. You then dry it. You are presented with a selection of tiny, exquisitely made linen garments, and you dress the statue for the day. Finally, you set a miniature feast before it. Tiny loaves of bread, small vessels of wine and beer, choice cuts of meat from the morning's temple sacrifice. You are performing, for a cold metal doll, the exact same intimate personal services that your own attendants performed for you this morning. As you perform these holy rites, your hands moving with a practiced, automatic grace, your mind is 1,000 miles away. As you chant the ancient hymn to awaken the great god, you are thinking of the Hittite chariots on your Syrian border. As you anoint the statue's golden head with perfumed oil, you are worrying about the failing grain harvest in Nubia. You are split in two. Your body is here, a divine automaton, flawlessly executing a ritual that is thousands of years old. But your mind, the mind of a king, is grappling with the real, immediate, and dangerous problems of your kingdom. When the ritual for Amun-Ra is complete, the process begins again. You are led to a different chapel within the vast complex, the shrine of his consort, the goddess Mut. Here, a different set of hymns must be sung, a different set of offerings must be made. Then you are led to the chapel of your divine brother, the falcon-headed Horus. More chants, more offerings. The morning becomes a blur of solemn, repetitive, and physically exhausting ceremony. You are constantly on your feet, moving from one dark, stuffy, and incense-choked shrine to another. The heavy regalia that was placed upon you at dawn now feels like a cage of fire. The air is thick, the chants are monotonous, and the sheer, mind-numbing repetition of the rituals is a form of profound, spiritual weariness. Finally, the last of the morning rituals is complete. You have served a half-dozen gods. You have performed your duties perfectly. The priests are satisfied. The cosmic balance, for now, is maintained. You are led back to your waiting palanquin. As you sink onto its silk cushions, your body aching, your mind numb, you feel a weariness that is absolute. Your day is not even half over. You are a living god, and your job is a relentless, repetitive, and utterly inescapable cycle of sacred and unbearably stressful obligations. The morning rituals at the great temple of Karnak are complete. You have served the gods of your kingdom. You have awakened them, cleansed them, and fed them, performing your sacred duties with the flawless, mechanical precision of a divine automaton. You are led back to your gilded palanquin, your body aching from the long hours of standing, your mind numb from the monotonous, hypnotic chanting. You expect to be carried back to the palace, to the world of the living, to the pressing matters of state that await you. But the procession does not turn east, back towards your palace. It turns west, towards the great, life-giving river, the Nile. You cross the river on a great, ceremonial barge. The sun, your father Ra, now a blazing white-hot disk at the very peak of the sky. The heat is a physical, oppressive force. And as you reach the other side, the West Bank, the entire atmosphere of the world changes. This is the land of the dead. The vibrant, noisy, and chaotic life of Thebes is left behind. Here, On the west bank, the world is one of profound, baked, and eternal silence. It is a vast, arid landscape of limestone cliffs and shimmering desert. A city built not for the living, but for the glorious and eternal afterlife of the kings and nobles. The air here smells of hot rock, of dust, and of a deep, ancient stillness. Your procession moves through this silent, holy land, and you arrive at your destination. It is not a finished temple. It is a vast, chaotic, and noisy construction site, a place that looks, to a casual observer, much like the Great Wall building camps of the distant Chinese emperors. Hundreds of men, their bodies dark and glistening with sweat, toil under the relentless sun. You can hear the familiar, sharp tink, tink, tink of 1,000 chisels on stone. You can see the great clouds of white limestone dust. But this is not a wall. This is your own personal and eternal house. This is your mortuary temple, the place that will maintain your sacred cult for 1,000,000 years after your own death. And behind it, hidden in the cliffs of the Great Valley, is the entrance to your tomb, the secret subterranean palace where your immortal spirit will reside forever. Your official duty here is to inspect the progress of the work. You descend from your palanquin, and you are met by the royal architect, a man of immense skill and learning. He walks with you through the site, explaining the progress, his voice full of a craftsman's pride. But you are not just a king inspecting a building site. You are a young man, in the prime of your life, forced to spend a significant portion of your day supervising the construction of your own grave. The experience is a profoundly strange and unsettling one. You are surrounded by images of yourself, by a future that has not yet happened. The architect points to a row of half-finished columns, and you see that they are being carved into the shape of your own body, in your aspect as the god Osiris. You walk past a great wall, and you see artisans meticulously carving a relief that depicts you, in glorious detail, winning a great battle against the Hittites, a battle you have not yet fought. You are shown a colossal statue of yourself, a seated figure carved from a single block of red granite, that will one day flank the entrance to your temple. It is 30 feet high. The body, with its powerful, idealized muscles and its serene, divine posture, is complete. But the head is still a great, rough, and featureless block of stone, a blank space where your own face is supposed to be. But the most unbearable pressure of this place does not come from the sight of your own future death. It comes from the ghost of your father. His own mortuary temple, a magnificent and perfectly completed masterpiece, stands just a half-mile away, its great stone pylons a testament to his power, his piety, and his glory. He was a great pharaoh, a warrior who expanded the empire, a builder whose monuments are the envy of the world. His legacy is written in stone, perfect and eternal. And you are his son. You are the new pharaoh. And as you stand in the midst of your own chaotic, noisy, and pitifully unfinished temple, you are crushed by the weight of his shadow. You look at the grand, serene perfection of his temple in the distance, and then you look at the raw, unfinished, and deeply inadequate state of your own. And you are filled with a hot, searing, and deeply personal anxiety. Will you ever live up to his legacy? Will your own name ever be spoken with the same reverence and awe? Will you win the great battles that will allow your artisans to carve the heroic seams on these walls? Will you live long enough to see this great temple completed, or will it be a half-finished monument to your own inadequacy for all of eternity? This is the most secret and most profound stress of your job. The world sees you as a living god, an absolute and all-powerful monarch. But you see yourself as the son of a greater man, a young king struggling under the immense, impossible weight of the past. Your entire life is a competition with a ghost who has already won. You stand before the great, blank-faced colossus of yourself. The royal architect is beside you, speaking of the quality of the granite, of the skill of the carvers. You are not listening. You are looking at the blank face of the statue, and you are seeing a reflection of your own uncertain future. You give a curt, dismissive nod to the architect, your own face a perfect, impassive mask that betrays none of the storm of anxiety within. You turn your back on the half-finished monument to your own death and walk back towards your palanquin. You have survived the rituals of the morning. You have dealt with the great crises of the state. And now, you have been confronted with the most personal and most unbearable stress of all. The terrifying and ever-present ghost of your own father, and the crushing, divine pressure to build a legacy that will be worthy of his name. The journey back across the Nile is a silent one. You leave the hot, dry, and silent world of the dead on the West Bank and return to the vibrant, humid, and noisy world of the living. The sun is beginning its long, slow descent in the west, and the oppressive heat of the day has started to soften. Your mind is still filled with the unsettling images from your own half-finished tomb, with the blank stone face of your own future death, and with the immense, ever-present ghost of your father's legacy. Your palanquin does not return you to the formal audience halls or your own private study. It carries you to a different wing of the great palace, a place of profound beauty, of quiet luxury, and of its own unique and deeply complicated form of stress. You are brought to the apartments of the great royal wife, the Queen of Egypt. You step into her world. It is different from your own. While your chambers are designed to project a sense of grand, masculine, and divine authority, hers are a sanctuary of refined feminine power. The air is thick with the sweet, heady perfume of lotus and jasmine. The frescoes on the walls are not of great battles, but of beautiful women in a mythical garden, of birds, of music. It is a beautiful, serene, and deeply civilized space. It is a gilded cage, and it is the home of your wife. And your wife is your sister. This is the central, strange, and sacred fact of your existence. You, the living God, are a vessel of divine blood so pure, so potent, that it cannot be diluted by the blood of a mere mortal, not even one from the highest of the noble houses. To create an heir with a legitimacy that is absolute, a child who is a god on both sides of their lineage, your partner must be of the same divine blood. And so, as has been the tradition for generations of your dynasty, you have married your own full-blooded sister. She is waiting for you, seated on an elegant, carved cedar wood chair. She is as much an icon as you are. Her own magnificent wig, intricately braided and adorned with gold, frames her face. Her fine, pleated linen gown is of the same almost transparent quality as your own. A great golden broad collar rests on her shoulders. She is the second most powerful person in the entire kingdom, a goddess in her own right. You greet each other not with the warm intimacy of a husband and wife, but with the cool, formal, and deeply respectful ceremony of two high-ranking deities. I greet the son of Ra, she says, her voice a low, musical murmur as she inclines her head. I greet the great royal wife, the hand of the goddess, you reply, performing the correct ritual nod. Your meeting is not one of personal affection. It is a scheduled and necessary part of your day. It is a business meeting, and the business is the dynasty. The tutors of the royal children have given their reports, she begins, her tone that of a fellow executive. The young prince, your son, is excelling in his studies of the sacred texts, but his instruction in the art of the chariot is lacking. The master of the stables is too lenient with him. A new, sterner master must be found. You listen and you nod. See to it, you say. You are not discussing your son as a child. You are discussing the training of your heir, the future pharaoh. The discussion is one of personnel and of curriculum. And the princess, your daughter, she continues, is of an age. The envoys from the Mitanni king have sent word again. They offer a prince of their house for her hand, and a tribute of 200 white horses. You consider this. It is a strong alliance, but it would mean sending your young daughter 1,000 miles away to live in a foreign barbarian court. The Mitanni are useful, but they are not our equals, you say, your voice cold and strategic. There is a better match to be made with the daughter of the Hittite king for our own son. We will keep the princess here. She will be a second wife to her brother when the time comes. It is the pure path. Your wife nods, a flicker of something unreadable in her kohl-rimmed eyes. The pure path, she agrees. You are discussing the lives of your own children, of your son and your daughter, and you are discussing them as if they were pieces on a great political chessboard, to be moved and sacrificed for the advantage of the kingdom. There is no talk of their happiness, of their desires. Their lives, like your own, are not their own. They belong to the state. They belong to the gods. You look at your wife, at your sister. You see the beautiful, serene, and perfect mask that she wears. You know that she too feels the immense, crushing weight of this life. You know that she too is a prisoner in this gilded cage. But this shared understanding can never be spoken. To speak of it would be to admit your own humanity, a weakness that neither of you can afford. And so, beneath the cool, formal, and professional surface of your conversation, there is a profound and almost unbearable loneliness. The one person in the world with whom you should be able to share the true burden of your soul is the one person before whom you must maintain the most rigid and most impenetrable of facades. Your marriage is not a partnership of the heart. It is a partnership of divinity, of politics, of the womb. You are partners in the great, sacred, and deeply unnatural business of being gods on earth. The meeting concludes. You have discussed the heirs. You have made the necessary dynastic decisions. You have fulfilled your duty for the day. You give your sister a final, formal, and deeply respectful nod. She returns it. You turn and leave her beautiful, fragrant, and profoundly lonely apartments. You have just completed another of the most unbearably stressful parts of your job, the quiet, polite, and soul-crushing performance of a holy and politically necessary but entirely unnatural marriage. The formal, strange, and deeply lonely meeting with your sister wife is concluded. You have fulfilled your dynastic duty for the afternoon. You leave the opulent, feminine world of her apartments and re-enter the great public thoroughfares of your palace. The sun is lower in the sky, and the light, slanting through the high clerestory windows, is a thick, golden, and dusty haze. The oppressive heat of the day has begun to recede, and the palace is stirring with a new kind of energy. It is the energy of the evening, of the coming festival. You are not in your palanquin now. You are walking. It is a deliberate choice. A pharaoh must not only be a god in the temples and a commander in the throne room. He must also, from time to time, be seen by his port. He must be a visible, physical presence, a reminder of the source of all power. You walk with the slow, majestic, and impossibly heavy gait that has been forced upon you by the weight of your regalia. The solid gold sandals clink softly on the polished stone floor. The thousands of beads of your broad collar are a heavy, unyielding yoke on your shoulders. Your personal Magi guards, their hands resting on the hilts of their swords, walk a respectful 10 paces before you and 10 paces behind. You are a moving island of absolute power. As you proceed through the great columned halls of the palace, the life of the court parts before you like the waters of the Red Sea. You see two high-ranking generals, deep in a hushed and serious conversation, who immediately fall silent, their faces becoming blank masks as they drop to their knees, their foreheads touching the floor. You see a group of noble ladies, their laughter like the tinkling of silver bells, who are instantly silenced, their bright, happy faces becoming masks of serene, pious reverence as they sink into deep, graceful curtsies. You see scribes, officials, architects, priests, the entire complex machinery of your great kingdom, all of them stopping, all of them falling, all of them erasing themselves in the face of your divine presence. It is a display of absolute, unquestioning loyalty. It is a beautiful, perfect, and utterly theatrical performance. And you know, with the cold, hard, and deeply cynical wisdom of your ancestors, that it is almost certainly a lie. This is the great, unspoken, and most unbearable stress of your job. This is the paranoia of the court. You are a living god, but you are also a man, and you are surrounded by other men and women who are ambitious, who are greedy, who are hungry for the power that you alone possess. You know that behind every bowed head is a calculating mind. Behind every adoring smile is a potential plot. The great, silent theater of deference you are now witnessing is not a sign of your safety. It is merely a sign of your power. And power, you know, is a thing that everyone wants. As you walk, your mind is not at rest. It is a sharp, analytical, and deeply suspicious instrument, constantly scanning, reading the subtle, almost invisible language of your court. You are a hunter, and you are walking through a forest of beautiful, silent, and potentially venomous snakes. You see the two generals, still on their knees. You note that they fell silent just a moment too quickly, that their conversation was a little too intense. Were they discussing the Hittite threat on the border, as is their duty? Or were they discussing the weakness of a young new Pharaoh and the opportunities that might arise from it? You file the observation away. You pass the small, whispering group of priests from the rival temples of Amun and Ptah. You see the look of pure, cold hatred that one casts at the other before he presses his face to the floor. You are reminded of the dangerous dispute over the temple estates, a fire that you must somehow extinguish before it consumes the kingdom in a civil war of the gods themselves. You see a young, handsome, and ambitious nobleman from a powerful family in the Delta. His bow is the deepest, his expression the most reverent of all. But you know that his father was a rival to your own father for the throne. You know that his family believes they have a stronger claim to the bloodline. Is his perfect, theatrical loyalty a sign of his true devotion? Or is it the clever, careful mask of a man who is hiding a traitor's heart? This is the endless, exhausting calculus of your life. Every glance must be weighed. Every word must be analyzed. Every friendship must be suspected. You know the bloody history of your own Ptolemaic dynasty. You know that more of your ancestors were killed by their own wives, their own brothers, their own trusted advisors, than ever died in glorious battle. The dagger in the back, the drop of poison in the wine cup, these are the true weapons of your world. And so, you are utterly, completely, and profoundly alone. Your divinity is not a comfort, it is a wall. It is a great, invisible barrier of ritual and fear that isolates you from all true human connection. You are surrounded by 1,000 people, and you cannot truly trust a single one of them. You maintain your own mask. Your face is the serene, impassive, and all-knowing face of Horus, the son of Ra. You do not allow a flicker of your own suspicion, your own paranoia to show. To show fear would be to show weakness. And to show weakness in this glittering, whispering, and venomous world of the Khalit is to invite the jackals to begin to circle. You finally reach the great gilded doors of the hall where the evening festival is to begin. You have successfully navigated the treacherous, silent, and smiling currents of your own court. You have seen the masks of your subjects, and you have kept your own perfectly in place. You are a living god, the most powerful man in the world. And you are the most lonely, the most suspicious, and the most paranoid man alive. You take a deep, steadying breath, preparing to step onto the public stage once more. Your mind a silent, heavily guarded fortress. You have successfully navigated the treacherous, smiling, and venomous currents of your own court. You have played the part of the serene and all-knowing monarch, your face a perfect mask of divine indifference, while your mind has been a frantic ledger of suspicion and political calculation. Now, as the sun begins to bleed its final, golden red light across the western desert, you arrive at the great pylon gates of the Temple of Karnak. Your long and exhausting day is not ending. It is merely entering a new and even more demanding phase. The business of the palace, the profane world of law, of economics, of war, is now behind you. You are about to step fully into your role as a god. The great festival in honor of the goddess Hathor is the main event of the day, a vast public performance upon which the prosperity of the kingdom and the contentment of the people depend. And you are its star, its high priest, and its central divine focus. You are not led into the public courtyards of the temple. Your palanquin carries you through a series of private guarded gateways into the secret, sacred heart of the temple complex, to a dedicated chamber known as the House of Adornment. This is the temple's own robing chamber, a space even more sacred and ancient than the one in your palace. The air here is cool and thick with the scent of 1,000 years of burned incense, a smell that has soaked into the very stone. The walls are covered in painted reliefs, not of your father's victories, but of the gods themselves, clothing and anointing each other in preparation for their own divine rituals. You are tired. A deep, bone-deep weariness has settled upon you. You have been awake since before dawn. You have endured the cold shock of the purification, the crushing weight of your crown, the endless litany of your kingdom's crises, the morbid inspection of your own tomb, the strange formality of your marriage, and the suffocating paranoia of your own court. The mortal man inside the divine vessel is screaming for rest, but there is no rest. Before you can appear before the people as a god, you must once again be made pure. The duties of the day, the act of governing, of judging, of dealing with the messy, imperfect world of men, has contaminated you. You must be washed clean of the stain of your own kingship before you can assume the higher mantle of a god. A ritual is a simpler version of your morning's ordeal. You are not submerged in the primordial waters of Nun, but the high priests of the temple bring forth a golden basin filled with cool, clear water, drawn from the temple's own sacred lake. They untie your golden sandals, and they perform the ritual washing of your hands and feet. As the cool water touches your skin, they chant a low, ancient hymn, a prayer to wash away the dust of the mortal world, to cleanse you of the taint of profane governance, and to make you worthy once more of standing in the presence of the other gods. Then the deconstruction begins. The magnificent costume of the Pharaoh, the king of the two lands, must be removed before the costume of the son of Ra can be donned. The masters of the robes, the temple priests, who are the guardians of the sacred vestments, approach you. With a reverence that is even deeper than that of your palace servants, they begin to remove your regalia. They untie the strings of your false beard, and the uncomfortable weight is lifted from your chin. They unfasten the great, heavy golden broad collar, and the immense, crushing weight is lifted from your shoulders. The relief is a profound physical sensation. Finally, the high priest himself steps forward, and with the utmost care, he lifts the great double crown, the pshent, from your head. For a moment, your head feels impossibly wonderfully light. You are, for a brief, fleeting instant, just a man in a simple linen robe. But the moment passes. The new construction begins. The costume for the festival is different. It is designed not to project the terrestrial political power of a king, but the otherworldly, cosmic power of a god. A new wig is brought forward. It is even more elaborate than your morning wig. Its thousands of tiny braids interwoven with a greater number of golden threads. And from its sides curve the two great golden ram's horns of Amun-Ra, the king of the gods, whose living embodiment you will become tonight. It is settled on your head, its weight and its heat a familiar, uncomfortable burden. A new crown is placed upon it, not the political double crown, but the tall, twin-plumed crown of Amun-Ra, a magnificent and precarious structure of pure gold and ostrich feathers that makes you seem a foot taller, a being of impossible and divine stature. Your makeup, which has faded slightly over the long day, is meticulously retouched. The black coal lines around your eyes are sharpened, made more dramatic for the torchlight of the evening festival. A fine powder of ground, glittering gold is dusted onto your face and your shoulders so that your very skin will seem to shimmer with its own divine light. You are no longer just the Pharaoh. You are now being transformed into the very image of the King of the gods himself. The psychological pressure of this shift is immense. In a single day, you must be a man, a king, and now the greatest of all the gods. You have no stable personal identity. You are a collection of magnificent, demanding, and utterly exhausting roles, each one with its own costume, its own voice, its own set of sacred duties. You look at your reflection in a polished bronze shield held up by a servant. The figure you see is a stranger, a magnificent, golden, and terrifying being, his head crowned with the plumes of a god. The last traces of the mortal man have been completely and utterly erased. From outside, you can hear the sound you have been anticipating all day. It is the roar of the great crowd, a sound like the flooding of the Nile. As the sun finally sets and the great festival begins, the priests step back. Your transformation is complete. The moment has come. You are ready to be presented to your people, not as their king, but as their living, breathing, and unbearably weary god. You stand in the sacred, silent antechamber of the temple, a man who has been completely unmade and rebuilt as a god. You are no longer just the Pharaoh. You are the living, breathing incarnation of Amun-Ra, the king of the gods, your body a vessel for his divine spirit, your head crowned with his twin plumes of power. The air around you is still and cool, thick with the ancient scent of stone and incense. But from beyond the great pylon gate, you can hear it. It is a sound like the roaring of the sea, like the coming of a great storm. It is the sound of your people. The high priest gives the signal. The dozen temple guards who will form your honor guard take their positions. And then, with a low, groaning sound of immense weight, the two great, golden-leafed doors of the sanctuary are pulled open. You are met by a wall of sound, of heat, and of light. The scene before you is a vision from a fever dream. The great temple courtyard, a vast open space that would hold thousands, is packed from wall to wall with the nobles, priests, and officials of your kingdom. The entire space is illuminated by hundreds of great, flaming torches, their light a wild, dancing, and brilliant orange that makes the painted reliefs on the temple walls seem to writhe and come to life. The air, which was cool in the sanctuary, is now a thick, hot, and almost unbreathable fog of humanity, of torch smoke, and of the powerful, intoxicating scent of the countless public incense burners. But the most overwhelming sensation is the sound. The moment you appear in the great open gateway, a single, unified, and earth-shaking roar erupts from the assembled thousands. It is not a cheer celebration. It is a sound of pure, primal, and ecstatic religious awe. It is the sound a people make when they believe they are in the presence of their God. And as one, the entire glittering white-robed sea of humanity drops to its knees, their foreheads pressed to the stone floor. You stand there for a moment, a single glittering golden figure framed in the great doorway, and you let them see you. Then the procession begins. You do not walk. You are a god. You do not touch the common earth. You are carried. A dozen of your strongest and most trusted guardsmen approach with the great ceremonial palanquin. It is a masterpiece of art. A small, open-sided throne room of carved and gilded cedar, carried on their broad shoulders. You ascend the small steps and take your seat. The journey through the kneeling crowd begins. It is a slow, swaying, and majestic passage. You are elevated above them, a golden island, floating through a sea of prostrate bodies. Your face is a perfect, serene, and impassive mask. You are the calm, still center of this swirling, roaring vortex of human emotion. But inside your own mind, you are anything but calm. This is the most demanding and most stressful part of your entire job. To be a god is to be the focus of a million different hopes, fears, and desperate prayers. As you pass, you see their upturned, adoring faces. You see the tears streaming down the cheeks of an old general, a man who has seen 100 bloody battles. You see the wide, wondering eyes of a young scribe, his face filled with a pure intellectual faith. You see the desperate, pleading look of a nobleman whose wife is sick with a fever. Their adoration is not a comfort. It is a terrifying, crushing burden. Each of them is looking at you, and they are not seeing a man in a heavy costume. They are seeing the answer to their prayers. The farmer, whose crops are threatened by a low Nile, looks to you and prays for the flood. The mother, whose child is sick, looks to you and prays for a miraculous cure. The soldier, who is about to be sent to the dangerous Syrian frontier, looks to you and prays for victory and a safe return. All of their individual, passionate, and deeply human needs. All of their hopes for a better life, for prosperity, for safety, are projected onto you. You are a living vessel for the dreams of an entire nation, and the weight of that collective hope is 1,000 times heavier than the golden crown on your head and the golden collar on your shoulders. You are the center of their universe, but you are profoundly, terrifyingly alone. There can be no connection between you and them. You are their God. They are your followers. Their love is not for you, the man who dreamed of his wife last night. Their love is for the magnificent, powerful, and entirely artificial icon that you represent. This adoration is the highest and most impenetrable wall of all, a wall that isolates you completely from the rest of humanity. And you know that their love, their faith, is conditional. It is predicated entirely on your success. You are the divine king, the guarantor of Ma'at, of cosmic order. As long as the sun rises, as long as the Nile floods, as long as the armies of Egypt are victorious, they will worship you. But if you fail, if the harvest is poor, if a plague sweeps through the land, their adoration will curdle into a suspicious, fearful resentment. Their love and their hatred are two sides of the same coin. The palanquin finally reaches its destination, the great open-air altar at the far end of the courtyard. The bearers set you down with a gentle, practiced motion. You must now descend, leave the relative safety of your golden box, and begin the final, most important rituals of the night. You stand, a single small man, inside a great, heavy costume, and you face the roaring, adoring, and deeply demanding crowd. Their faith is a physical, palpable force, a wave of pure energy that washes over you, and it is the most glorious, the most intoxicating, and the most unbearably stressful burden in the entire world. You descend from the palanquin. Your golden sandals touch the hot stone of the temple courtyard. A great, collective sigh, a sound of pure, religious ecstasy, rises from the thousands of kneeling worshippers who surround you. You are no longer a distant, moving icon. You are here, among them, a living, breathing God who has come down from his golden heaven to walk upon the earth. The air is thick with the heat of 1,000 torches, with the heavy, sweet scent of incense, and with the almost tangible weight of your people's adoration. You are led to the great, open-air altar at the center of the courtyard. It is a massive, flat-topped block of polished black granite, heaped with a magnificent and chaotic bounty of offerings. Great pyramids of bread, platters of figs and dates, and mountains of lotus and papyrus blossoms. The time for passive procession is over. The time for your active, divine performance has begun. Your job in this moment is not to rule. It is to be the kingdom's chief priest, the sole and indispensable conduit between the mortal world and the divine. The fate of the festival, the pleasure of the gods, and the continued stability of the cosmos now rest entirely on the perfection of your performance. You stand before the altar, flanked by the high priests of Amun-Ra and Hathor. You are the center of this sacred play, and your every movement, every word, every breath is a line of holy text that is being watched and judged by thousands of eyes. The ritual begins. It is a long, complex, and deeply ancient ceremony, a script that has been performed by every pharaoh before you for 1,000 years. First, you must present the offerings. A junior priest hands you a beautiful carved alabaster jar filled with the finest dark red wine. It is heavy. You take it in your hands, and with a slow, practiced, and impossibly graceful movement, you raise it high above your head, a gesture of offering to the gods, who watch from the starry sky above. You then tilt the jar, and a stream of the dark, fragrant liquid pours out onto the altar, a sacred libation to please the goddess. Next, you are handed a golden bowl filled with pellets of the purest, most fragrant frankincense. You take a handful. The small, tear-like pebbles of resin are cool and smooth against your palm. You approach the great bronze brazier that burns beside the altar, its coals glowing with a fierce, white heat. You cast the incense into the fire. A great, white cloud of fragrant smoke erupts with a loud hiss, billowing up into the night sky. A visible prayer carrying the sweet scent of your devotion to the heavens. Then comes the most difficult part of the performance. You must lead the chanting. The high priest begins the rhythm, and you must join him, your voice rising in the ancient, hypnotic hymn to Hathor, the Golden One. The words are in a form of the language so old, so archaic, that they are almost a foreign tongue. You have spent your entire life memorizing these thousands of verses, these complex and sacred texts. Your mind, which is still reeling from the day's reports of famine and war, must now become a perfect, flawless vessel for these ancient words. You chant the story of Hathor's birth. You chant the names of her 77 glorious forms. You chant the hymn of her sacred intoxication. Your voice is a deep, powerful, and resonant instrument, a sound you have trained for years to produce. It is the voice of a god. The pressure to perform every single one of these actions without a single tiny flaw is an almost unbearable weight. You are being watched. The thousands of your devoted subjects are watching, their faces full of a simple, unquestioning faith. But the high priests who flank you are also watching, their eyes sharp and critical. They know the rituals as well as you do. They are the guardians of tradition. If you were to mispronounce a single holy word, if you were to perform a gesture in the wrong order, if you were to spill a single drop of the sacred wine, they would see it. And it would be seen not as a simple human error, but as a terrible omen, a sign that you are not a worthy intercessor, that the gods are displeased with their son on oath. And so, your mind splits in two. One part of you is the divine automaton, the perfect performer. This part of you is focused with a superhuman concentration on the flawless execution of the ritual. It is this part that ensures your hands are steady as you pour the libation, that your voice is perfect as you recite the ancient hymn, that your movements are a slow, majestic, and graceful dance. But the other part of you, the secret, hidden, and mortal part, is screaming. It is the young king, terrified of making a mistake. It is the weary man, his body aching from the crushing weight of his golden regalia, his lungs burning from the thick, smoky air. And it is the worried CEO, the ruler whose mind is not on the goddess Hathor, but on the very real and very dangerous problems of his kingdom. As you are chanting a beautiful, ancient verse about the sacred waters of creation, your mind is thinking of the failing waters of the Nile in Nubia. As you are making an offering of bread to the goddess, you are thinking of the starving subjects who have no bread to eat. The disconnect is a form of silent, psychological torture. You are the star of a magnificent divine play, but you are also the only one in the entire theater who knows that the real world, just outside the temple walls, is on the verge of catching fire. Finally, after what feels like an age, the last hymn is sung. The last offering is made. You have done it. Your performance has been flawless. A great, happy roar of approval rises from the crowd. The priests are nodding, their faces serene. You have successfully played your part. You have been a magnificent and convincing god. But the performance has taken a terrible toll. You stand before the great altar, a triumphant but utterly brained figure. The heat from the torches is suffocating. Your heavy robes are a prison of sweat. Your mind is a numb, empty void from the sheer, relentless effort of it all. And the day is still not over. The most important ritual of the night, the one upon which the very life of your kingdom depends, is yet to come. The final note of the great hymn to Hathor echoes off the massive temple walls and fades into the warm Egyptian night. You lower your arms, the golden scepter in your hand, suddenly feeling impossibly heavy. The public, performative part of the ceremony is over. You have sung the ancient songs. You have made the sacred offerings. Your performance, you know, was flawless. A great, roaring wave of ecstatic approval rises from the thousands of your subjects packed into the courtyard, a sound of a people whose faith has been affirmed. But there is a brief, quiet interlude now, a pause in the great, grinding machinery of the ritual, as the junior priests scurry to clear the main altar and prepare it for the final, most important ceremony of the night. In this small, unexpected pocket of stillness, the divine automaton, The perfect actor you have been all evening recedes, and the tired, mortal man returns. You are guided to a temporary throne, a simple but elegant gilded chair set up on the dais to one side of the great altar. You sit, and a profound, bone-deep weariness, a weariness you have been holding at bay with sheer, disciplined will for hours, washes over you. The immense physical weight of your regalia is a crushing burden. The twin-plumed crown presses down on your skull. The great golden broad collar digs into your shoulders, and the heavy linen and gold of your robes traps the heat, making you feel as though you are being slowly cooked in your own divine armor. The adrenaline of the performance fades, and in its place a vast and hollow emptiness opens up inside you. The roar of the crowd is a distant, meaningless sound, the buzzing of a million insects. The thick, fragrant air, so full of incense and flowers, now feels cloying and suffocating. You are surrounded by a magnificent, glittering spectacle of your own creation, and you feel nothing but a profound and deeply unsettling sense of detachment. In this moment of quiet, internal crisis, your gaze sweeps across the assembled court, across the sea of adoring, upturned faces. You are searching. You are desperately, almost unconsciously, searching for a single, genuine point of human connection. A single pair of eyes that sees not the living God, but the tired, lonely man who is trapped inside the golden cage. You look for your Grand Vizier, the old, wise man who has been your guide and your teacher. You see him, standing with the other great officials of the state, his face a perfect mask of pious public reverence. He is not looking at you. He is looking at the Pharaoh. He sees not a man in need of comfort, but a divine symbol of the power he serves. There is no connection there. You look at the high priest of Amun-Ra, the man who stood beside you at the altar, your colleague in this great sacred work. But you see the cold, calculating glitter in his eyes. He is not your friend. He is the leader of a powerful, ambitious, and rival faction, a man whose loyalty is to his own God and his own temple first, and to you second. There is no comfort there. Your gaze drifts out over the vast, anonymous sea of your people. They love you. They worship you. Their faces are shining with a pure, uncomplicated faith. But their love is not for you. It is for the idea of you. It is for the golden, divine mask that you wear. They do not know, and cannot possibly comprehend, the weary, anxious, and deeply lonely man who lives behind the mask. Their adoration is not a bridge. It is the highest and most impenetrable of all walls. Finally, your eyes search for the one person in this entire universe who should, by all rights, understand. On the other side of the great altar, in her own place of honor, stands the great royal wife, your queen, your sister. She is a perfect glittering icon in her own right, her face a serene, kohl-rimmed mask, her body a column of white linen and gold. She is also a prisoner of the same divine performance. She too endures the weight of the wig, the constriction of the gown, the endless, suffocating ritual. She of all people must understand. Her eyes, across the flickering, torch-lit space, meet yours. For a single, fleeting, and almost imperceptible second, the world seems to fall away. There is only her gaze, and in that one unguarded moment, you search her eyes with a desperate, silent plea. You are looking for a sign, a flicker of shared understanding, a hint of the girl you played with in the palace gardens as a child, a silent acknowledgement of the strange, beautiful, and terrible prison you both inhabit. You are looking not for a queen, but for your sister, and for a heartbeat. You think you see it. A shadow of weariness, a flicker of the same profound, soul-deep exhaustion that you feel in your own bones, a hint of a shared and secret misery. But then it is gone. Her expression shifts, her eyes becoming once more the cool, serene, and utterly unreadable eyes of the queen. The mask resettles. She gives you a slow, formal, and deeply respectful blink, a gesture of a goddess to her divine husband, not of a sister to her brother. The connection, whether real or merely a figment of your own desperate imagination, is broken. She looks away, her gaze turning piously towards the altar. And in that moment, you have never felt more alone. You are surrounded by thousands of people who worship you. You are in the presence of the one woman who shares your blood and your divine burden. And you are an island, a single, solitary consciousness in a universe of performance and ritual. A brief moment of quiet is over. The priests are approaching the altar again, their movements signaling the beginning of the final, great ritual of the night. You must now recall your own wandering spirit from its lonely depths. You must once again become the unfeeling, unwavering, and perfect icon. You straighten your aching back, the great golden collar a cold, familiar weight on your tired shoulders, and you prepare for the final performance of the night. The moment of empty, silent reflection is over. It is shattered by the sound of the high priest's staff striking the stone floor. The final and most important ritual of the night is about to begin. The preliminary offerings to the goddess Hathor were a celebration of life and joy, a necessary and beautiful prelude. But this final act is a matter of pure, terrifying, and absolute survival. You have made the sun rise. Now you must make the river flood. You, a pharaoh of the two lands, understand a truth that is as fundamental as the stones of the pyramids. Egypt is not a kingdom of the land. It is a kingdom of the river. The great holy Nile is the source of all life, all wealth, all power. Its annual inundation, the great flood that swells its banks and deposits a layer of rich, black, and life-giving silt upon the desert fields, is not just a season. It is the miraculous, divine event upon which your entire civilization is built. And this miracle is not a certainty. It is not a predictable mechanical event. It is a gift from the gods, specifically from Hapi, the great and capricious god of the flood. And it is a gift that must be earned. It is a gift that must be requested, demanded, and paid for, with the full weight of your own divine authority. The entire year of rituals, of offerings, of festivals, it all leads to this single, pivotal moment. The rising of the sun is a daily battle, but it is a battle that is always won. The flood is different. You have read the ancient records. You know there have been years when the flood was too low, and great famines swept across the land, leaving mountains of the dead. You know there have been years when the flood was too high, a raging, destructive torrent that washed away entire villages and destroyed the careful work of the irrigation dikes. The success of your entire reign, the judgment of your people, and the verdict of the gods themselves will all be measured by the height of the water in the coming months. This is the ultimate test, and it is a test you must pass. The high priest approaches you. He's not carrying a vessel of wine or a bowl of incense. He's carrying a single, sealed, and incredibly important papyrus scroll. You take it in your hands. It feels heavy, dense with meaning. You know what is written upon it. It is a great and sacred contract between your kingdom and the gods. It is a meticulous, divine ledger listing every major offering made, every temple built, every festival celebrated in your name over the past year. It is the collected proof of your kingdom's piety. And at the end, there is a powerful and direct plea, a holy command, for the god Hapi to rise from his hidden caves in the south. and bring his life-giving waters to the lands of Egypt. You hold in your hands the invoice for your kingdom's survival. A new procession forms. It is a slow, solemn, and deeply purposeful march. You lead the way, the sacred scroll held before you in both hands. You walk out of the great, torch-lit temple courtyard and into the cool, dark, and silent night. You are heading towards the river's edge, to the great, stone-built, sacred quay where the royal barges are moored. The entire court follows behind you, a silent, glittering river of white linen and gold. You arrive at the edge of the Nile. The great river is a vast, silent, and powerful presence in the darkness. It is a sheet of black, liquid glass, reflecting the brilliant, cold light of the stars. The air here is cool and smells of the damp earth, of wet reeds, and of the immense, ancient power of the water itself. You walk down the wide stone steps of the quay until you are standing on the very last step, the cool, dark water of the Nile lapping just inches from the toes of your golden sandals. The entire court, thousands of them, remains at the top of the steps, a silent, watching multitude. You stand there, a lone golden figure at the edge of the immense, dark river. The high priest begins a low, deep, and ancient chant to the god Happy. You raise the papyrus scroll high above your head. You are the sole intercessor. You are the only bridge. In this moment, the entire collective and desperate hope of your people is focused into you. You are a vessel, a conduit, and through you, the plea of a nation must now pass into the ear of a god. At the precise, astrologically determined moment, as a specific constellation touches the horizon, the high priest's chant ceases. A profound and absolute silence falls. You bring the scroll down, and with a final, powerful, and ringing chant of your own, a command to the river to rise, and to bring life to the two lands, you cast the sacred contract into the water. It makes a small, insignificant splash in the vast, silent darkness. The scroll, with all its holy words, all its accounting, all its desperate pleas, is instantly swallowed by the great, dark, and indifferent river. It is gone. The offering has been made. The contract has been delivered. You stand there, your arms still outstretched, and you stare at the dark, unreadable surface of the water. A great, hopeful, and relieved cheer erupts from the thousands of your subjects behind you. They have seen you perform the sacred rite. They have faith in you. They believe you have succeeded. But you, the Pharaoh, the living God, you simply stare at the black water, and you are filled with the profound, absolute, and terrifying uncertainty that is the true and eternal burden of your crown. You have done your job. You have performed the ritual perfectly, but you do not know if it was enough. You do not know if the God was listening. You do not know if the river will rise. You have now placed the fate of your entire kingdom into the silent, inscrutable hands of the gods. And all you can do now is wait. The sacred scroll has been swallowed by the dark, silent waters of the Nile. The contract with the gods has been delivered. A great, roaring, and profoundly hopeful cheer erupts from the thousands of your subjects who have witnessed the holy act. They have seen their divine king perform the ancient and powerful rite. In their minds, the harvest is already saved. The famine is already averted. Their faith in you, and in the eternal order of the cosmos, is absolute. A new procession forms to lead you back to the palace. But the mood of this procession is entirely different. It is no longer the tense, solemn march of supplication. It is a triumphant, joyous parade. The temple musicians, who had been playing somber, hypnotic hymns, now switch to a loud, celebratory rhythm of drums, sistrums, and trumpets. The priests now chant hymns of praise, not of pleading. The crowd, which was a sea of prostrate, silent worshippers, is now a cheering, ecstatic mass of humanity, shouting your holy names, praising you as the bringer of the flood, the savior of the two lands. You are lifted back into your gilded palanquin, and you are carried through this sea of joy. You are the object of their adoration, the hero of their celebration. But you do not feel triumphant. You do not feel relieved. As you sit in the swaying darkness of your private box, the roar of the crowd a distant, meaningless noise, you are consumed by the cold, heavy, and utterly solitary weight of your own secret knowledge. They are celebrating a victory that has not yet been won. They are cheering for a promise that the gods have not yet answered. You have performed the ritual perfectly. You have played your part. But you, unlike them, know that the magic is not a certainty. You know that the Nile is a capricious god, and you know that your own power is a fragile, delicate, and often illusory thing. Their faith in you is a beautiful and terrifying burden, and in this moment of your greatest public triumph, you have never felt more like a fraud. You must, of course, allow none of this to show. You are the Pharaoh. Your face, glimpsed through the latticework of the palanquin, is the serene, confident, and all-powerful mask of the living God they believe you to be. The long procession finally reaches the sanctuary of the royal palace. You pass through the great gates, and the roar of the crowd is shut out, leaving only the ringing in your ears and the echo of your own name. The public performance is finally, truly over. You have survived. You are carried not to the throne room, but back to the deep, quiet, and private sanctum of your own apartments. The moment you step from the palanquin, the moment the last of the high priests has bowed and retreated from your presence, the great, divine, and impossibly heavy edifice of your public persona begins to crumble. The first sensation is one of profound, almost shocking exhaustion. It is a weariness that is so deep, so absolute, that it feels as though the very marrow of your bones has been turned to dust. The immense adrenaline-fueled focus that has sustained you through the long 16-hour day of ritual and performance vanishes, and in its place is a great, hollow, and aching void. You walk with a slow, stumbling gait that is no longer majestic, but simply weary, to your great, gilded chair, and you collapse into it. The divine God is gone. The tired, mortal man has returned. Your personal attendants, the trusted servants of your bedchamber, now move forward to begin the final ritual of the night, the deconstruction. They work in a practiced, reverent silence. One of them carefully unties the cords of your twin-plumed crown and, with the utmost delicacy, lifts the great, heavy, and sacred object from your head. The release of its weight from your skull is a moment of pure physical bliss. Another servant moves behind you and unfastens the heavy, golden clasp of your broad collar. The immense, crushing weight of the jewelry is lifted from your shoulders, and you let out a long, shuddering sigh of relief. You can feel the deep, bruised marks that its weight has left upon your skin. They remove the golden bracelets, the anklets. They untie the uncomfortable, sacred, false beard from your chin. They unfasten the layers of your magnificent, pleated linen robes. Piece by painful, heavy piece, the costume of your divinity is stripped away. You are left in nothing but your simple linen loincloth, the same humble garment worn by the lowest farmer in your kingdom. You are no longer a god. You are simply a man, a tired, aching, and profoundly weary man, sitting in a quiet room at the end of a long and unbearably stressful day. The sounds of the city, the distant, drunken cheers of the festival that still rages, filter in through the high windows. Your people are celebrating you. They are celebrating their faith in the divine power that you so convincingly performed for them. You, however, are left with the cold, hard, and deeply human residue of your duties. You are thinking of the famine in the south. You are thinking of the Hittite armies in the north. You are thinking of the treacherous priests in your own temples. You have spent your entire day in the company of the gods, but you have not solved a single one of the real, mortal problems that plague your kingdom. You sit in the warm, quiet darkness of your chamber, a lonely man in a lonely room, and you are filled with the profound, secret, and absolute exhaustion that is the true and eternal burden of your crown. The great festival is over. The last, distant, drunken cheer from the city of Thebes has faded into the night. You are back in the deep, quiet, and sacred sanctuary of your private apartments. The performance is over. The god has been retired for the night. And now, the long, slow descendant and deeply welcome process of unmaking begins. Your personal attendants, the trusted servants of your bedchamber, move with a silent, practiced efficiency. The heavy twin-plumed crown of Amun-Ra is lifted from your head, and the relief is a physical, almost painful release of pressure. The great golden broad collar, with its immense crushing weight, is unfastened and lifted from your shoulders. You roll your neck, feeling the ache in your muscles, a testament to the long hours you have stood as a living statue. They strip away the layers of your divinity. The golden bracelets and anklets are removed. The stiff, formal robes are untied and taken away. The uncomfortable, sacred, false beard is unstrapped from your chin. Piece by piece, the magnificent, heavy, and exhausting costume of your power is dismantled and put away. You are subjected to one final, simple purification. Not the cold, ritualistic bath of the morning, but a simple washing with warm, scented water from a bronze basin. The maids gently wash away the sweat, the dust of the temple, and the last faint traces of the golden powder from your skin. You are dressed in a single, simple, and impossibly soft garment of the finest, clean white linen, and then you dismiss them. Your wife, a great royal wife, has already retired to her own separate apartments. Your children are asleep in the royal nursery. The priests have returned to their temples. The vizier is in his own chambers. For the first time since the moment you woke, you are truly, completely, and absolutely alone. You stand in the center of your vast, silent bedchamber. The only light is from a single, softly burning oil lamp. You walk to the great, polished bronze mirror that hangs on the wall. You look at your own reflection. The god is gone. The king is gone. The all-powerful, serene, and intimidating icon that you have been all day has vanished. The man who looks back at you is a stranger you have not seen since yesterday. He is a young man, his shoulders slumped with a weariness that is bone-deep. His eyes are red-rimmed and haunted. There are new, fine lines of stress around his eyes that were not there a month ago. This is the true face of the Pharaoh, the secret face that no subject is ever permitted to see. It is the face of a tired man trapped in the most stressful job in the entire world. You look at this man in the mirror, and the entire crushing weight of the day settles upon you. You think of the terrible, life-or-death decisions you were forced to make this morning. The famine in the south, the Hittite armies in the north, the squabbling, treacherous priests. Those problems have not been solved. They are still there, waiting for you, just outside this door, ready to greet you when the sun rises again. You think of the endless, repetitive rituals, the hours spent chanting ancient, hollow words and making offerings to cold, stone statues. You think of the suffocating, adoring gaze of the crowd, their faith a burden 1,000 times heavier than your golden crown. You think of your own half-finished tomb, a constant, morbid reminder of your own mortality. You think of your sister, your wife, a stranger with whom you share a bed and a bloodline, but not a single honest word. You realize the profound and terrible truth of your existence. You are a living God, and yet you are the least free man in your entire kingdom. Every moment of your day, from your waking to your sleeping, is scripted, is ritualized, is a performance. Every word you speak, every gesture you make, carries the weight of the cosmos. You have no private life. You have no personal thoughts. You are a symbol, a vessel, an eternal office that is temporarily inhabiting a fragile, mortal body. You turn from the mirror and walk to your great, magnificent, and empty bed. You lie down and you stare up into the darkness. The silence of the room is no longer a comfort. It is a vast, empty space that is filled with the echoes of your own anxieties. You close your eyes, but sleep does not come easily. Your mind, finally free from the demands of ritual and performance, is now a frantic, churning mill, replaying the day's events, worrying about the decisions you have made, and rehearsing the duties that will be required of you tomorrow. For you know, with an absolute and soul-crushing certainty, that tomorrow will be the same, and the day after, and the day after that. The cycle is endless. There is no rest for a living God. You are the most powerful man in the world, and you are its loneliest and most exhausted prisoner. And here, in the grand, lonely darkness of his royal bedchamber, we leave the sleepless Pharaoh. We leave the living God, who is perhaps the most powerless man in his own kingdom. The story of the Pharaoh is the ultimate paradox of power. We see the magnificent statues, the golden treasures, the absolute authority, and we imagine a life of unrestrained luxury and will. But the reality was one of profound, almost unimaginable constraint. His life was not his own. It was a script, written by 1,000 years of tradition. He was a slave to the rituals of his religion, a prisoner of the expectations of his people, and a man crushed by a cosmic responsibility that no single soul could ever truly bear. His job was not to rule, but to endure. And now, as our story fades, it is time for our own quiet, time to be grateful for the simple, profound freedom of an ordinary life, a life that is our own to create, a life free from the weight of crowns and the unbearable burden of divinity. Time to sleep.